Hello, my people. What's going on? It's your boy Zav coming through with another analysis paralysis. It's Thursday, so you know, class is in session, of course. So thank you guys for tuning in today. I'm feeling great. This weekend I'm heading to DreamHack Montreal, so I'm excited. I get to be in an offline environment with a bunch of top players. I get to just experiment with Sagat against all these seasoned vets. So I'm excited. I just cannot wait to get out there. I'm gonna be heading out tomorrow morning. But before I go, of course, I have to give you guys the flavorful stream, you know, so I have to give you guys that supreme stream experience. Where else are you gonna get it from? I can get it anywhere else, right? So today we are going to be analyzing NuckleDu versus Toy. This set occurred this past weekend at Summer Jam in Philadelphia, and it's a very interesting set because when they played in top 8, right? They played twice actually. The first time they played was on the winner's side of top 8, and Du beat Toy 3-1, I believe, right? He didn't switch characters. He just beat him 3-1 with the Guile, I believe. Okay. They run it back. They play again, and when they play, it's a very different set of results. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch this. We're gonna watch the losers finals rematch between the two. Okay. And if you guys don't know, the way I do my analysis paralysis series is that I like to talk about the strengths of the characters, the weaknesses of the characters, and their goals. Okay, so that way we have an understanding of what we're looking for while we're watching a match. So it's not just like we're watching it casually. We have some sort of focus, some sort of direction, right? In terms of what we're looking for. That way we can grow and become stronger players. Because this stuff translates directly into the matches while you're playing. You'll be able to pick up on little details the more and more that you start to practice these types of analysis, right? So we're gonna start with Guile. Okay, so Guile played by Du. Du is arguably probably top 2, maybe 3. I'd say definitely top 3, but him and Kaba would probably be like interchangeable. and then maybe Daigo would be the best Guile in the world. But dude's been playing Guile since Street Fighter 4 days, so he has a lot of experience. The design of the character hasn't really changed, but his tool set has gotten stronger in certain areas. So there is that. And of course, some of the utility of his special attacks have suffered a little bit because of the game, like invincibility and flash kicks. That's not really a thing unless you have bar for the most part, or if after a certain point in your startup frames. So it's not like he can frame one just, you know, like a flash kick like he could in Street Fighter 4 previous games. So there's that. Toy plays Bison. Toy is a Chun-Li player from 4, and he started playing Bison since the beginning of 5. And Toy is one of the, how do you say, diamonds in the rough that not many people know about in the scene. I've known him for years, and he's always been a really strong player. Super insightful, kind-hearted. He's just an awesome dude all around, right? And Toy, his Bison is, I think he's super capable of beating anybody when he plays them, because he plays so alert and so sharp that it might throw somebody off. And I'm gonna show you examples of that in the set, and this can probably allude to why it is that Toy did such a great job against Du in the second set, the rematch rather. The first time they played, it wasn't like it was bad either. It was 3-1, but it was still kind of a close 3-1. It was just like a bunch of little errors on Toy's part that caused the set to swing in Du's favor. You know, like little instances like that. And in a game like this where all it takes is one mistake, you make that mistake, everything can just snowball from there, right? We already know that. That's Street Fighter 5 in a nutshell. So Toy plays Bison, and Du plays Guile. So we'll talk about Guile first. So Guile, his goal is to, as any zoner, is to establish like a obstacle course of fireballs and projectiles, right? And the projectile is not necessarily there to hit the opponent. I mean, of course, if it does, it's cool. But the idea is to imagine everybody has an invisible meter, right? There's a meter floating behind their head you don't see. And depending on how many projectiles you throw, the meter starts to fill up, right? Everybody's is different. Some have short meters, some have really long meters. So the meters, we would say, is like that patience, right? Once it gets filled up, the person has run out of patience. Now they're gonna start doing things. They're gonna start acting, right? And when you throw a projectile, most zoners wanna hit the movement that is trying to get around the projectile. They don't really care about the projectile hitting you. If it hits you, then great, of course, right? Because they're building extra bar, they're getting chip damage, they're getting pushback. That's fine and dandy. But for the most part, when they're throwing a projectile, it's just to irritate you enough so that you can commit to something and then they punish you. Simple enough, right? So that's his goal. He's gonna just want to establish this like labyrinth, like a bunch of just hurdles in front of the Bison. And this is with anybody, to be honest. So by design, he wants to do this. Just putting a bunch of hurdles through his fireballs in your way, and then he's just punishing however you're trying to circumvent that, okay? However you're trying to close the gap, he's basically just trying to punish it, get his damage, rinse, wash, repeat over and over and over again until you're KO'd, okay? So he basically wants you to cause yourself to be vulnerable based off of your movement and the risks that you take. But then also, because of the design of the character in 5, Guile has really strong offense. So this can actually go into, we can kind of transition into the pros of the character. So of course he has an exceptionally great zoning game, right? And when I say zoning game, I'm looking down, that's why I'm looking at my notes. So when we talk about zoning game, like a strong zoning game, the components of a strong zoning game would be having a great fireball. But when we say a great fireball, primarily a fireball with great recovery, very short recovery, because the risk behind throwing the fireball is it's a lot less when you have less recovery, right? So if you can fireball and you have less recovery, you'll be able to anti, or you'll be able to punish other types of movement potentially, right? If you have a really sluggish fireball, like it's very laggy when you throw it, then it's gonna be a lot harder for you to control neutral and to force your opponent into playing a certain way, okay? So another thing about having a great zoning game is that you have access to very consistent anti-air tools, okay? So what I mean by consistent, so who is a character that kind of has inconsistent anti-airs? I guess you could say Bison to a degree, because Well, I don't know. Bison's Crouching Fierce is actually really good. Who is a character that we could say has? Let me see. Looking at a list of characters right now. Alex? No, but Alex has stand jab. That's pretty good. Um, hmm. Ryu? No, Ryu's is pretty good too. Oh, Vega, perfect example. Vega has to be super calculated in terms of his spacing, the way you're jumping, the angle attack, what character he's fighting against, as opposed to Cammy, who can just back medium punch, right? Of course, it can lose in certain situations, but for the most part, it's really strong. So you don't really have to be looking for it. You don't have to be super calculated and methodical, and you can just kind of do it. Okay, so that's what helped that access to a tool set like Guile's, where Guile can just crouching fear, so he can just flash kick and not really have to worry about too much. That makes it so much easier to focus on zoning. Excuse me. So the more you can focus on zoning, the better, because then you can notice more tendencies. The more tendencies you notice, the more that can snowball into you figuring out your opponent's rhythm. You figure out their rhythm, and now you can figure out how they're navigating that fireball wall that you're putting up, right? And then also, so you have the fireballs of great recovery. You have your consistent anti-air tools, and then lastly, this is the last part of like a great zoning game. It are like having decent pokes that can complement your control and neutral. So Guile has great pokes. He doesn't have decent pokes. I just say decent because you don't necessarily need great pokes, but he has great buttons that move horizontally, so he can move and close the gap with his buttons. It's a bot kick, which is forward, a backwards medium kick, and that crushes lows. It's really good. He has back fist, which can really, it can do a lot of damage, and it can influence people to stop walking and blocking. It's really good for that type of situation. He also has stand roundhouse, which lunges forward also, like his Sabat kick, but he stays grounded, so it doesn't low crush, but it has a really good hitbox, and it does a lot of damage. He can combo off of it on counter hit also. He has low forward. He has stand light kick, which is one of the best light pokes in the game. He has back fist, back fierce rather. He has back fierce, which is when it crush counters, you can convert into super. Really good poke. So he has all of these pokes. He has a really good sweep. His sweep is like 8 frames or 7 frames actually. It's really fast. Okay, and that's why a lot of players throw it out there, because they do it, and if it hits, it hits, and if they block, like, they're gonna just V-trigger cancel and they're plus on block, right? So they don't mind it. Guile players don't mind it. So he has access to all 3 of these things, these components. So his zoning game is immaculate. It's high quality, top tier at its best in this game, okay? Also, another pro of his is that his offense is almost as good as his zoning, which is very, like, it's not really common for zoning characters, but Guile is one of them. His offense is really good. He has, and in terms of a great offense, I'm saying he has a great walk speed. So that means he can engage, he can go into the ranges he wants with a lot of ease. He can disengage, meaning he can avoid the ranges that you want to be at a lot easier, because he has a good back walk speed also. He has knockdown conversions off of jab. So that's very important, because if he can just guess where your gap is in your pressure, then he can convert that into a knockdown and place a fireball on top of you, okay? So he has that, and he has access to high damaging combos. So he has a really good offense, all right? And you put all these things together, he can win without a fireball. He actually can. If he gets in on you, it's a legitimate thing. He can play like a rushdown character, okay? And then another thing is that he has very useful V-triggers. Usually characters in this game, they have one good V-trigger, but he has access to 2 great V-triggers. So he has the V-trigger one, which is like the sonic booms, right? Where he has like multiple, he can throw them on the screen. And then he also has access to the flash kick, the enhanced version of flash kick, which gives him a much better hitbox that can hit behind him. So it's way more difficult to get behind Guile if you jump in on him, okay? So he has a lot of utility behind those 2. So his offense, his zoning, like, this character is just really strong. He can cover all bases. He can control neutral. He can neutralize characters really easily. He's just a really solid character. Hence why a lot of people think he's top 3 in the game. I would say Cammy, Manat, and Guile. Interchangeable, but I definitely would say those 3. Okay? But he does have his cons. So he has below average health and stun. He's at 950 health, 950 stun. So he might die a little quicker than other characters, okay? Also, another thing is that he doesn't have a 3-frame button. So he doesn't have a 3-frame button, so that can be used against him for sure. If he doesn't have bar, he can get abused. And he only has access to an invincible reversal with bar. So either with EX flash kick or with super. Those are his two options, okay? And lastly, he is a charge character, so this can be a pro or a con depending on what your focus is. But say like a pro in a sense where if somebody jumps at you, all you have to do is down and up. It's 2 inputs. It's very easy, right? But it can be a con in a sense, a negative, because he becomes more static with his movement. So if he doesn't have block stun, he has to sit still in order to gain access to a special. Whereas if he's on the offensive and he has you in block stun, be it through a normal, a special attack, or maybe he does some sort of big move like a jump in, he can charge behind it, right? And then that's how he disguises the special, okay? So that can be used against him, but it can also be a strength, okay? Now let's talk about Bison. So Bison, he's a character that has a lot of damage, okay? He has great offense, a very strong V trigger, high damage, but the thing is that he has a very slow walk speed. His anti-airs require a lot of precision, button timing, spacing, whatever, right? And he has a really floaty jump, so you can anti-air him a lot easier than you would other characters. Those are like his general like weaknesses, those 3 things that I listed. His floaty jump, slow walk speed, and his anti-airs requiring precision. But aside from that, he has immaculate offense with and without V-trigger, right? Because so many of his buttons are plus, even his heavy attacks. The fact that he has a lunging heavy attack that leaves him plus on block is really good. That's really, really good for any character, right? So he has that in Psycho Axe, which covers a great distance, has a lot of reach, okay? And that's +2 on block. He has a really good V-trigger one. All right, his V-trigger one, his V-trigger 2 is all right, but his V-trigger 1's where he really shines. Hence, probably mech sticking with that and an Evo. But his V-trigger 1, it just changes the dynamic of the character, and it forces your opponent to do things they're not used to, right? So it's like, even if you read his dash, the game, because of the mechanic of his dash, he looks like he crosses up, but he hasn't crossed up yet in the game, so the game would still register you as facing the same side. So like, you have to be very, very careful with how you try to punish his dash and V-trigger. And because he can left-right mix up, he can cancel it right into a special. He doesn't have to have charge. He just does directions, just like NuckleDu does in a V-trigger. So he can just cancel immediately into stuff, and he gets a lot of damage off of his V-trigger. His crush counter normals are really good. His stand roundhouse is crush counter normal, and it's +3 on block. He has really good range on his normals. He has really good hitboxes in like relation to those normal attacks. So like stand medium kick is one of the buttons I think of right away. His stand medium kick, it retracts his hurt box and the hitbox extends, so he gets this evasive tactic off of it. You're gonna see Toy abuse that in a lot of situations. Okay, is that stand medium kick. He has I think he has the best throw range in the game, right? So where you might be used to a character's throw whiffing, he would actually still be in range. So that might be enough to throw you off, okay? And he has one of the best air-to-air conversions in the game with his jump medium punch. That's a really strong move for him, okay? And a 3-frame button, and his dash is invincible, okay? So he's a really solid character, and you see Problem X1 Evo with him. So it's not like he's a bad character, right? I mean, he did use Abigail in certain matchups, but it was primarily Bison all the way, okay? So now we can get into it, all right? So we are going to go here, all right.
If he makes those adjustments necessary, NuckleDu the foist place. So let's see if he makes those adjustments necessary. NuckleDu.
Okay, what is this? Why is this freezing now? What the hell is this?
The foist place. So let's see.
There you go. Okay.
Makes those adjustments necessary. NuckleDu. You know, when you have this double jeopardy situation where you have a lot of data on how you lost, but you don't know how your toy.
Fast forward this.
NuckleDu just lost.
Okay, so opening gambits. Let's see what he does. You know me, I like to talk about the opening. The opening is very important because you can get all the information you need out of an opponent based off of the first 2-3 things that they do. He dashed immediately. Okay, what does that tell you guys? Well, at least what it tells me is that, oh, he's gonna establish that he's confident. He's not here to play games. Okay, and we saw Problem X do that too against Tokido at Evo. Very first situation he dashed in on Tokido. So this might be a Bison thing where they are just trying to put you on tilt. Or maybe they're trying to get you to look for the dash. Who knows? You'd have to play the opponent to figure it out, right? But we can definitely tell that Toy right now is just being really aggressive. All right, so let's continue watching this. All right, so you see that. That's a very subtle situation, but I want you guys to pay attention to this. So after this, max distance crouching medium punch, right? He immediately walked back, and hence why that whiffed, okay? Now, that's a moment that might get exploited later on, but it is something to just keep note of. The fact that he did move away, okay? Okay. So jab, walk up, throw. That's a really good Bison tactic. They got hit by the V skill. Alright. Good jump. Okay, that's another subtle moment. So what ends up happening here is, so he jumps in on the V skill right here. Guile doesn't have flash kick because he already committed to the forward on the V skill fireball. So he can anti or crouching fierce, but crouching fierce is 8 frames, so it's not something that he would want to risk. All right, so he just takes the block. Okay, especially because of Bison's jump heavy punch where it hits very far down. It's a risk that he is very aware of, so he's like, you know what, I'm gonna just take the block. Okay, now what happens here though? Let's watch what NuckleDu does. Immediately jumps. So this is very important. So the thing about Bison, right, is offensively, he likes to, this is anybody in the game. Anybody that's pressuring you, they want to figure out how do they re-close the gap if you're blocking. Everybody that pressures you when you block, right, they want to close the gap. They want to close the gap because what happens, the more I push you away, then I'm not as much of a threat anymore, right? The more attacks I'm using, the more I get pushed away. Now, every character in the game is capable of re-establishing that close range again. Well, Bison's really good at it. The reason is because his Psycho Axe moves him forward, and it's plus on block, and it crush counters. So those are 3 things that people already, it just is enough to induce hesitation. Okay, so NuckleDu knows this. So when he blocks this jump in medium kick, I believe it is. When he blocks this, he knows, like, there's nothing that he can get at this range. So obviously he's going to want to close the gap. And usually they close the gap with Psycho Axe. See? That's why he does it. So this is a very common theme that we are going to pay attention to throughout the set, okay? And look at that. After throw tech. Rule number 1, guys. After a throw tech, watch who moves first. Because that's going to tell you a lot about your opponent. So you see, Toy did, they both moved on reversal timing, right? They both tech, and they both moved immediately. They both moved immediately. So this is a very common Bison thing to do, is to do stand medium kick immediately afterwards, because this button is so strong. If you don't understand hitboxes and hurtboxes, you're very susceptible to getting blown up by this. It's very strong, okay? So we see that they both commit to something. Du is very active as a player, so this doesn't surprise me that he tried to jump. Du is the type of player that if you knocked him down, he'll dash up on his wake up. You'll knock him down, right? Boop, and then he gets up and he's like, doo-doo-doo-doo. That's how Du is. Du will just dash up on his wake up because he likes to throw people off. That's how he likes to play. So he understands the situations that can work. So you see, he tried to jump forward after that. Okay. See, and Du's very active. So you see how he just kept getting counter hit right there. So you got counter hit back to back. Usually when somebody gets counter hit, right, they're like, oh, I got counter hit, let me chill. But Du's like, oh, no, I'm gonna keep going. So that can be used against him. You see how much damage he just took in a span of 3 seconds? That's like over 220 damage that he just took. Oh, now it's like 370. Okay. See? And now he again goes for the jump in. That was really good. So
being deterred either.
Bison is not invincible on the way up.
With that heavy punch.
So if he commits to that, he gets hit. Okay, so this is another subtle moment. There's so many things going on here. I apologize for the pausing. I just don't want you guys to miss out on this stuff. So, you know how I mentioned earlier that Bison has a 3-frame button? This is why it's useful. After Stand Strong, Guile is only +2 on block. And his Crouching Strong is 6 frames. Right? So 6 minus 2 is 4. So that means his next button after... His button that is Crouching Medium Punch, following up after the Stand Medium. So he does Stand Medium, Crouching Strong. The Crouching Medium Punch, or Crouching Strong, is now 4 frames of startup. So all you have to do is do a 4-frame button to beat it. I mean, a 3-frame button to beat it. And counter it, right? And look at what Bison does. So you can see the startup. You'll see the startup of Crouching Medium Punch. You see how he's going like this? That's Crouching Medium Punch. And then you see he gets counter hit. So now he's completely shifted the momentum back in his favor. That's why understanding and identifying the holes in your opponent's character is very important. That's something Problem X taught me. He taught me that like a year and a half ago. And look at that, he's an Evo champ. You know, that's one of the things you need to be aware of, are the holes that you can exploit in people's strings. See, so that was really good because he got all of that space because of that.
Looking alright for NuckleDu. That feature for activation.
Okay, so this situation is kind of funny. So
looking alright for NuckleDu. That feature for activation.
So Du tries to do Crouching Fierce. You see the startup? But he gets counter hit because it was too slow. Because he had just whiffed a medium punch, right? Which has like 20 frames of total animation, right? And then he's trying to hit him with an 8-frame crouching heavy punch while he's coming down. So the situation just ends up not working out for him. Okay. Let's see. Alright, so the first round we saw that Toy did a dash up immediately. So let's see what is going to happen. Is there anything that's going to change? It's good to pay attention to this type of stuff. So let's see. Alright. So... Okay. So nothing. That's a good scramble.
Look at that. NuckleDu didn't check it that time.
Okay, see, so this is Du being active again with movement. He probably tried to jump, to be honest, and got hit. That was good pressure to bait the throw tech. So he did that original V-skill fireball just to see if he was going to immediately stomp. That's why he didn't cancel right away.
Wow, what a neutral jump.
Great awareness. Awesome awareness on Du's part to know that that wasn't a safe jump. Again, so remember that situation we talked about where he did the jump in, right? And he did the jump in and Du did neutral jump for the previous round. So this is what I'm talking about. He knows that Bison wants to re-establish the pressure, so they're going to Psycho Wax or they're going to do walk up roundhouse. So he just commits right away to neutral jump. See?
I'm thinking they're going to try to figure out what their best whiff punishes are. We're going to see who's throwing out how to punish it.
Wow.
That was a good punish on the slide. So if you guys don't know this, you can punish that V skill by doing a walk up sweep because he gets fatter at his hurt box by his feet when he does it. Okay, so let me see if I can show you guys an example of that. Let's see. Guile. Let's see, where is it? V skill. Somersault, that's flash kick. Sonic cross. Is that this? I think it's this. So you see, he gets fatter at his feet and he moves forward when he does it. So you can actually just walk up to him and sweep him. Just because of the fact that he's moving forward, it actually makes it easier for you to make sure you're hitting him. Alright? But you see this big green square right here is telling you, hey, it's a lot easier to hit me right here. Because you wanna take advantage of this. All right, so if you guys haven't studied hitboxes or don't understand it at all, I do have a video lesson on my YouTube channel discussing and going over what these things mean. It's like only a 40-minute video. It's not too bad. If you ever have the time, just check it out. You can watch it in chunks too. But this stuff is really crucial. It helps you avoid situations, you know, that you can avoid them. You can take advantage of and turn it into your offense. Hence why he slides there and he punishes it. Okay, so you'd think like, oh, he has a fireball. He's gonna run into it. No, not necessarily, because he can just hit him at his feet like he did right here.
Wow, what a slide to get out of that B skill.
Again, so you see like that walk-up throw, that's something that Toy has in his arsenal. We saw it the round before where he did jab, walk-up throw, okay?
All right, Bison closes out.
So Dude's thinking about it. Goes to Mika.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in to Summer Jam 2018. Eric Small's event in Chicago. That is it. Gonna have this crazy 50-50s here.
Wheel of morale. Turn.
Nadeshko, let's go.
All right, so Mika can give Bison kind of a hard time because when she gets in, he doesn't have an invincible attack. So it can be very discouraging for a Bison player. I know a lot of Bisons don't like this matchup, but she basically he can hang with her in neutral, but it's just once she gets in, right? Because he doesn't have an invincible attack outside of super. He does have his V reversal, but then if he uses his V reversal, that means he doesn't have access to V trigger until God knows when he gets access to it, right? If he's not crush countering or using his V skill, aka the opposing a character doesn't have a projectile, then it's like it's not as easy for him to get the V trigger as opposed to like an Ibuki. Ibuki's always gonna V skill no matter who she plays against, you know, because she can V skill. So it's not something that she has to worry about in terms of getting and gaining access to her V trigger, right? So
That is, not a good look.
All right,
NuckleDu.
right into the man grab.
so here what we're gonna focus on is just watching how Toy understands what the common triggers are for Mika. So you guys can take away from this too. So you see in this situation right here, this spacing's creating zone 3. And this is a very common spacing for charge roundhouse because this is her best poke at this spacing. You know what I'm saying? So check this out.
Omelets.
So you see, very subtle, but
Ham, cheese, eggs, bacon, omelets.
he started crouching
Grab.
at that range
Not only with ham, cheese, eggs, bacon, omelets.
because he's trying to convince the Mika player, hey, I'm sitting still. Do you want to do this? Because I'm not moving. Because Mika players, they don't want to do the roundhouse if you're moving a lot. They don't want to. They don't want to even do it if you're pressing a lot of buttons because that move is actually only active for 1 frame. So you can easily poke her out of it if you see her do it. Because of that, they want to make sure like, yo, you're sitting still, right? That's why he crouched on purpose at that range.
Not only with ham, cheese,
So this was just a trigger to convince to upload, like we talked about. He's trying to upload in the Mika player's mind. It's okay to do this, see? And that's why he backdashed and he was ready for it.
eggs. Finds the heavy punch, gets his way out the corner.
Great combo off.
And Dude keeps getting hit in that situation.
Looking good.
Another one. Mika taking some stun.
Okay, so if you guys remember the Tokido versus Problem X that we talked about, this is a very common tactic against Bison, where you jump back and you punish the dash up.
Good.
Another one.
Or you jump and punish the dash up. Because a lot of Bisons, they want to close the gap. They want to dash immediately, right?
Mika taking some stun.
So you see that there.
I think Toy's confident. That early jumping, that early.
Okay, so what happened there was the reason why he neutral jumped is because of the V trigger scenario. So he sees that Mika has V trigger, right? Toy's very sharp, so he pays attention to bar and all that. So he sees that you have bar, okay? And he neutral jumps, right? Mind you, this is after a trade. They just traded light attacks. Usually after a light attack, the less disciplined player jumps, right? Or they move first or whatever. So it's like after a trade, I'd recommend just like after a tech, you just watch what they do because you can turn that against them because it's a scenario that doesn't happen often, right? So sometimes if I end up in a situation where a trade happens, I'll just won't do anything and I say, let me just watch this so I can use this against them in the end game. I say, oh, okay, you jumped. All right, so in the end game, if I want to KO you with DP Super, let's say if I'm playing Sagat, then I will just try to trade with you, right? In a weird scenario, and then I will just wait for you to jump. Because instinctively, you showed me that you just jump. So you can use that against him. And you see here, the Mika does slide, right? So at that range, it works out too, because Mika players will usually tick. They do a button poke, which is what the tick means. You tick, like you tap, and the tick isn't for damage, hence why we call it tick. It's just to touch you, and then to put you at the range that they could do some sort of activation into V-trigger, right? So it's kind of like Cammys. When Cammys tick into dive kick, they tick into dive kick. Mika players will tick into crouching heavy punch, which is like the shoulder tackle, or they'll tick into sweep to activate V-trigger, right? And you see it here. That's clearly what he's going for right now. He just wants the block stun.
That
right?
early jumping, that early crouching roundhouse at the beginning of the round, I don't think he cared.
Oh, this might do it.
Not quite.
Got a pixel. Pixel left for Mika.
Neshko.
Neshko, help me out here.
Oh, he just
Woo,
missed
the
there,
crossfire.
there.
Oh.
So
Neshko, help me out.
very important for those watching is when this situation happens, let's look at his health, okay? So he doesn't KO him, right? But all he has to do is touch him. He doesn't have to commit to anything crazy. He can trade a light attack and kill him, right?
Not quite.
So when you think of trades are like, you know how if you're up a round, but then game 2 you and your opponent draw a game, you won the first round, so you won the match, right? You got to think of it like that, where if we trade, I'm still going to win because I'm still going to be alive. I still have extra health, but you don't. You see what I'm saying? So what he could have done, what he tries to do after the jump in right here, he tries to do jump back medium punch. Or he tries to do jump back medium kick rather, right? Hence why you see the startup and his feet are coming up. Right? So what just happened? What the hell? So you see how his feet are coming up like that? That's jump medium kick. But what he could have done was just jump back jab, because it starts up way faster. I think jump back jab is like 4 frames, something like that. And it has a really good hitbox. Usually the jumping jabs have better hitboxes than the medium attacks, because they want the medium jump ins to be easier to anti-air, right? So that ends up costing him, but that's something that he can work on. It's just being aware of like situations like that. So he backdash is probably anticipating some sort of big move, right? Okay, that was really good.
Interrupt on the EX scissor kick. Backing off, gets the anti-air.
Psycho Axe opens you up.
Again, so you see him trying to attack the range, attacking space. He just doesn't want to let Mika close the ground, right? That was a really good dash up, because usually when people whiff, smart players, when they whiff, they block. They're like, oh, I fucked up. And Du, being an active player, he takes advantage of it like an active player would through movement. So you see, he whiffs, and he just wants to lock him in block stun and command grab him.
Up, command grab. What are we gonna have here? Forward throw.
So the thing about that forward throw is if you stand block it, she actually gets a different animation, and she can't dash up afterwards. But if you crouch and she throws you, she gets this. So this is the one she can follow up afterwards. All right. So if you ever have the idea that Mika might be throwing you, like regular throwing you, and you don't want to tech, just stand block it, because then it will push her out of range.
Oh, the X scissors right out.
Okay.
Mika has access to full critical art bar. Bison trying to figure out his options, how to safely get in against Mika.
So he just messes up his whiff punish.
Tool to whiff punish, but he mistimed it. That EX flying peach is very fast. Boy,
Yeah, he does it again. So you see there's a consistent theme there, where he does the tick, right, and he neutral jumped. So it wasn't just because of the trade in that scenario, but it's because of the V trigger that's causing him to do this. Right? Nice. So what happened there is, Du is a very active player, like we talked about, right? So we know Du will he'll do movement in situations where he knows you want to block, or you're thinking about blocking. So if you look at this, look at what the startup is. It's actually dash. See? And he hits him. So he committed to it. He just had a sense that, oh, maybe Du's going to try to just move forward or try to jump or something, right? He's minus here, too. So all Du has to do is press a button. You got to just press the button and counter hit him.
Trigger available. Using the V reversal. He wants that activation. Oh, big jump in. It's his turn. Crouching roundhouse activation.
Desco available.
Wow. It was such a long.
Grab.
That was the held out. He's at critical.
Oh, right there, that's punishable. So like,
Desco available.
Wow. It was
I think people don't lab this enough. That, I believe this clap is minus like 8 or something like that. It's very punishable. But people see it and they just kind of like go, what? I'm confused. But yeah, it's very punishable, so he could have used that against him.
That critical art. Ooh, the classic corner escape. And he hits the dash.
Yeah, so that wasn't, I don't think there was advantage after that. Yeah, there was definitely not advantage. That's why he got counter hit.
Corner escape. And he hits the dash.
That's it. All right, Toy is going to be on the board.
Dude,
I think more risks. I mean, she only has so many tools available to her also. I think overall.
All right, let's see.
it's pretty round.
Sponsored by Dasani, people. That's it.
So dude starts off this round with dash up.
All right, NuckleDu
Okay, and he neutral jumps it. So that's a very common NuckleDu thing he likes to do, is where he dashes up twice, where when he thinks that you're super fixated on the ground. So this is how he tries to take advantage of it, especially in the opening, because he likes momentum. So if he has the read, he's like, oh, why not, right? So when he sees the first dash, Toy in his head is like, okay, I already know what's coming. Hence why he just neutral jumps it.
Crazy.
Again, see? So he's getting hit because he's trying to get away from the situation. That's why he did the jab, because you can't jump out of that when he does the jab, because it hits you on your pre-jump frames.
Command grab. Toy finds it. Finds it.
So he's catching dude moving back a lot. We talked about earlier, like, after he blocks a poke, max distance, he tends to move backwards or try to get away, right?
Crazy. Dash up twice command grab. Toy finds it. Finds it.
See? Because look, stand jab, low 4 does not combo, but he got hit trying to move backwards.
Dash up twice command grab. Toy finds it. Finds it.
But you see how much health he's lost just because he wants to get out of that range. He just wants to feel comfortable again. And he gets hit again.
Dash up twice command grab. Toy finds it. Finds it.
Max distance, and look, he starts to walk back. See? Boom.
Man, Mika
Wow.
taking a pile of damage.
That backdash made the scissor kick whiff.
See, that was tricky. That was crazy. When I saw this the first time, I was like, what? What just happened?
Back against the wall.
And he jumps.
Reversal,
Not
not enough.
helping too much, yeah.
But you see that one tick pressure? He's doing that tick jab into jump. So you can use that against him. You say, oh, I see what's going on. You can just anticipate the jump and attack.
Turn if your opponent blocks
Good tech. So right there, that's very, very important, because that actually ends up being an end game scenario at the end of this match. Did you see that? Mika does
Too much, yeah.
tick, he does strong tick jab, right, which is actually not real.
Reversal not helping too
That's not real, because this is actually -2, right?
yeah.
Not your turn.
And he tries to throw. Where do you think he was trying to throw? Obviously in the corner, because he wants his opponent cornered, right? So this is a very common Mika thing, where they try to back throw you or command back throw you into the corner, right?
Turn if your opponent blocks your view. Reversal.
Toy just backdashes, which I respect totally, because he got all that space back. He was beating him in neutral, so it's like, why not go back to neutral, right?
Think things over, dash up.
Nice. Oh,
So right there, I think what happened was Du was trying, I don't know what Du was trying to do. I thought he was trying to view reversal originally, but then I looked at his bar and I was like, oh, he doesn't have view reversal. So what was this? Because I seen heavy kick came out right here. See? But it wasn't charged though. It was counter. I don't know if it wasn't charged or what it was, but it was very interesting.
nice. Okay.
Mika down some light.
So you see that same exact range we talked about that
Nice. Oh,
the Mika players like to do the roundhouse, right? So you could have backdashed again and whiffed it and caused it to whiff, but it's okay.
Some life here.
you find
That was good. That caught his stand heavy punch.
Rekka in.
So Bison players, because they're so good at closing the gap, they're also really good at knowing or trying to take, take away your attempts at trying to close the gap and reinitiate and recycle your offense. So that's why Dude does the stand strong right there, even though the low forward isn't plus, right? He just does it right away. And if I go back a little bit, you see this is stand fierce. See?
He finds his way in off of that charge heavy kick.
Rekka in. V reversal.
So he's committed to the V reversal strategy at this point.
See? And this is good.
Nice punish.
So exactly what we talked about in the other corner,
He's committed to
how Mika players want to throw you, and you see what happened,
the strategy at this point.
Woo!
Nice
and he used it
punish.
against them.
Nice backdash.
Got a decision there in the corner. It's gonna cost the whole round. neutral play.
So usually like this little tactic that you see right here where he whiffs a button and then he follows it up with Psycho, it's so when people try to go whiff punish the first button, it's so like the Psycho comes and basically kind of whiff punishes the whiff punish attempt. That's why you'll see Bison players commit to it back to back like that. So if you have a really good read on a Bison, you can just jump in on him if you think he's doing this type of tactic where he's whiffing on purpose.
Super neutral play.
Oh, he whiffs it.
See, so right there, he doesn't do the charge version. He does the early release version. That's why he stays in place. The charge version, she flies forward. Okay?
Oh, he whiffs it.
But he's just trying to throw off his focus on the ground.
Oh, misses that anti-air. Great EX scissors.
Again, he gets hit by the same meaty setup. I don't know why.
Great EX scissors. Forward throw. Great headbutt anti-air.
Good backdash, because he knows that when you're towards the corner and an Amika hits you in some sort of block stun, they do want to throw you. So, especially at that range, there's not much that he has to really worry about. So,
Great headbutt anti-air.
And the neutral of this match is as if both players are like, you won't do it. No, you won't do it. Well, I
that's
did.
very good. I wonder what he interrupted. Let's see. He walked up and did throw. Oh, okay, that's what it was.
Match is as if both players are like, you won't do it. No, you won't do it. Well, I did it. You gonna do it?
Exactly. All right, Bison with the back throw.
Nice. So you
Wow,
see, Du is in this backdash happy state.
Back throw.
Wow, what a counter hit. Not quite
Taking
enough yet.
Damage. Damage in the corner. Nadeshko's on board.
He successfully reversals. NuckleDu, he's got not a whole lot to work.
Nice.
Oh, the medium kick at that space. Knuckle gets
Nice.
hit by it.
See, that stand medium kick, it's so good. Like, the hurt box on it is just so strong. See how he kind of shifted back? It's all because of that.
Here we
He's
go.
going to this other
All right.
space.
Let's see.
NuckleDu, he's got not
See? So this is his original position, and he kind of shifted back a little bit, and he whiff punishes.
a whole lot to work. Wow, the medium kick at that space. Knuckle. I mean, I've
So he switches back to Guile.
that victory, I'm sure.
Last round here. All right, boy. A lot of patience.
Now he's just trying to feel him out, because he did switch characters, so he has to see, like, alright, so what changed?
Timing on that jump from Toy.
Okay, and same thing we talked about. After the throw tech, they both moved immediately, right?
That's right. Oh, he missed the anti-air. What a timing.
And they get counter. He gets the counter hit. Because he does that stand medium kick is so good, you have to know it's coming. You just have to commit to a button that beats it. So generally, like, I would recommend doing like a fierce button that has the same startup. Or a lot of characters can sweep it too, because it's like 8 frames, I believe, on startup or something like that. So you can just commit to a sweep and crush counter him also.
That jump from Toy.
But trying to hit him mid-high is where that button is very superior compared to a lot of the buttons in the game.
Ooh, snuffed out that sonic boom. I was going to say, one thing's for sure. Guile with his zoning and his sonic booms.
It's a good trade.
Scissor kick.
Patience.
Gotta swap that. But he lets it slide.
Look at this.
So see, they're just he's just letting him. He's trying to let him know, like, dude, I'm not gonna fall for any of this because I am very comfortable with how I'm winning right now. And dude's just trying to cycle through options to see what can make him move. Because remember what we talked about? Guile wants you to move so he can punish you, right? But it's like, oh, you're not doing anything. See, that's why he's throwing. And the reason why he's throwing is because remember we talked about Guile as a charge character? If you crouch and throw, your character stands up, but you're still crouching. So he's trying to disguise his charge behind the throw so that he can jump.
Look at this. Look at this
Got
right
the
here.
stare down.
Okay, okay.
Great cross up here by Guile. Psycho Axe trying to open.
And he got him again. Same situation too.
Psycho Axe
He keeps committed to it because he knows dude tries to get away from the pressure from the block stun. He just wants to reset the neutral. So he's using it against him.
Fortunate for Toy that down
Could be
heavy
reversal.
forward a little bit and
Especially because it pushes him towards the corner.
avoided the jumping crossover. Down heavy punch anti-air.
Great V reversal here by Du.
Yep, NuckleDu is committed to that strategy. He's not going to get a V trigger this round. He will
Bison's
not get a V
spray light.
trigger.
Whoa,
That was
great
good air there.
answer for that. That was a
Good
reverse.
punish, see?
Great text.
Nice.
What
So
a- that was a verse.
you see after the throw, again he moved first. Like dude has not actually sat still after a throw tech.
Text.
And the crazy thing too is even if he does stand medium kick, it still would have hit him out of the air. wouldn't have hit him grounded, but he would have been hit out of the air anyways.
What a neutral jump air to air from Toy. Point in losers finals.
This is, I think, the last round.
All right, what are we gonna have here?
NuckleDu needs to find an answer fast.
All right, catches that.
Yeah.
Dash forward teleport.
And it wasn't intentional either. He was doing that anyways and found the dash off of it.
After the trade, what did we talk about? You see? After a trade, the lesser disciplined player moves
It
first.
wasn't intentional either. He was doing that anyways
You see? They both moved again. They both moved, but Du took the bigger risk.
and found the dash off of it.
Great combo there by Du.
Good jumping by Toy, man. He is all about it. Making
So you see how he does delay psycho? If he does back throw, Bison can do back throw into psycho axe, and it's meaty, right? So you can't jump out of it. You can't press a button, whatever. But people know, and they'll just flash kick, right? So a common situation when this happens is that the Bison player will wait if he knows that you're like you have really good reactions. He'll just wait, or he'll withstand heavy punch because it looks like the same thing because it's purple. All you see is purple, so whoever's trying to react is just like, oh, I see purple, flash kick or DP, and then they let it whiff, and then he gets a crush counter punish.
all the right timings on the jumps and
Knee
troubles.
reversal. No EX headbutt.
That button's so good it can anti-air too. So Dude's trying to move away, so he could actually have done roundhouse into low forward, because Dude's trying to move away right now. He's trying to walk back.
Scary for NuckleDu. The reversal.
Okay, Du has access to EX.
That is such
Oh,
a
he tried to air him right there.
He's ahead.
That's the thing is when you have an opponent that has a character with a very long reaching jumping normal, it's very difficult to air because they might hit the button early, so you might just get hit on the way up anyways, like he did right here.
An investment from NuckleDu. He's ahead.
V reversal is
Oh
activated.
my gosh.
See, he has a read on him.
Behind. He's behind. He gets a
Oh
first
my
fire.
goodness.
Just a kick. Reset. From behind. He won Evo.
V reversal. Great ear to ear.
So okay, I want you guys to see this situation.
V reversal is activated.
So that's really strong because in V-Trigger, he becomes invincible, I think, like frame 3 on his EX scissor kick, right?
Oh my god.
Now, I'm going to slow motion this part so you guys can see what I was talking about with the dashing, right? You're going to see he's still on the same side. Or he actually crosses up, right? He's behind him, at least what we think he is. But because of that little cloud of dust that's still there, that psycho energy, he's still on the same side. So the game doesn't register to your opponent, hey, he's behind you yet. That's why his flash kick goes the other way. And now he's on the other side.
He's behind. He's behind.
And he gets
a
that.
first fire. Just a kick. Reset. From behind. He won Evo.
V reversal. Great ear to
So he gave up the corner to go for the mix-up. If it worked, he would have won. But he was playing so well in terms of neutral, it's like he didn't really have to do that.
He gets a crush counter. Just a kick. Reset. From behind. He won Evo.
You know?
V reversal. Great ear to ear.
Wow.
I think he tried to jump.
Round 1-1. Toy
Super
wins
solid.
this
No
next round.
panicking. No panicking from NuckleDu at all.
He's going to continue on.
He got a pot on his head.
Okay, so common tactic, if you're not doing anything in neutral, Bisons will just take that as an advantage to establish Psycho Axe.
He got a pot
You see how he kind of waited? Because he doesn't want him to jump on it. He doesn't want him to neutral jump. He doesn't want him to fireball it. So he just kind of waited. He's like, okay.
Wow. The durability helps get the knockdown there.
And you see? That 3-frame button coming in handy.
Wow.
Right? So that's +2. And then what does he try to do? Crouching strong. But you see? No, 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 good sir. That does not work around these parts.
Damage here, but has access to a full critical art bar.
Again,
Here, but has access
interrupted.
to a full critical art bar.
I don't even know what he tried to do. What did he try to do? Did he try to crouch a medium punch again? He tried to crouch a medium punch again.
Oh, he interrupts there. The guts on this man.
Nope. V reversal.
He delayed because he was probably anticipating flash kick. Because dude was willing to do that.
Splash kick there.
That was a good. He was trying to land on top of the Sabat kick.
Kick there.
It just recovers so fast. See, he even. Wow, that's crazy. He did it before he did it. He jumped before he did the Sabat kick and he still didn't punish it.
Kick there.
Look at this. He didn't even do it yet. He didn't even do it. And he still didn't punish it. But I think it's because he's choosing the wrong button when he neutral jumps. I think that's the problem. I think Fierce would have worked. They would have hit him early enough. Thank you, No Life, for the follow. I appreciate it.
He got hit, but he walked into it.
Okay, so he catches him. So why did he get hit there? See, these are questions you want to ask, is why did he get hit there, but it wasn't counter hit? That's immediately an indication that, hey, my opponent is probably trying to jump or backdash because they're not blocking. Obviously, they're not blocking, but they're not. It's not that they're not blocking because they're pressing something. So it has to be a movement reason behind it. So you see?
A lot of patience here on Du's part. Has access to critical art again.
The patience from Toya is what really helped him out in this set, to be honest.
Another great V reversal.
So much white health on Toy side.
2 EX.
Nice. That was beautiful.
Another great V reversal.
That was so
So
beautiful.
much white health on Toy
Just being
side.
aware.
2 EX sonic booms.
He didn't get a lot of damage out of it, but it's just enough psychological damage to start to really wane at Dude's confidence.
Jump back.
Because now it feels like, damn, this dude just knows everything I'm doing. He's prepared for so many things.
Punch.
He's trying to figure out how does he mount a comeback, because look at the health. You see how many V reversals he's used? He's not going to get V trigger for the rest of the round. Most likely. Unless he crush counters the hell out of him like 3 or 4 times.
Du is playing very calmly right now.
Making so much use of that knockdown off the boom.
And he got him again.
With the heavy punch. This is it for Toy.
Great tech.
And same thing we talked about. After the throw tech,
The boom.
you see how this, all of this led up to this.
Great tech.
Breakdown.
All of the lack of awareness in that situation bit him in the ass. Because he doesn't have a strong enough awareness of the throw tech situation.
Knockdown off the boom.
Oh, this
With
is
the heavy
do
punch.
it.
This is it for Toy.
Great tech.
See? So he's hiding his charge behind the throw tech, and he KOs him with that. Because he already knew what he wanted. You know? Because even if he does stand medium kick, I believe he would have been out of range.
This is it for Toy.
I think he would have backdashed away from it. Yeah, he definitely would have. He would have got away from the stand medium kick. But Toy knew that. And he had the bar too, so it didn't really matter to him. He had the life advantage. And it was very unlikely that he was going to get any sort of big sort of counter off of it. He couldn't jump it because he would have got hit. Okay? He couldn't, I mean, he could flash kick it, but who cares? If he flash kicks it, it's like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and he's going to be plus on block, so the risk behind it doesn't really matter to him. But at the same time, look at what it does. It's because Du is such an active player that it also worked against him, right? So, guys, that is that. I hope you guys enjoyed Analysis Paralysis tonight. That was pretty fun. I enjoyed it. It's a good set. I'm glad that Toy did his thing. And, you know, that's good for him because he got to get the recognition. I think he's so slept on in the scene. So I'm glad that my bro did the damn thing. Dude's my homie too, you know what I'm saying? But regardless, I'm proud of him. Doesn't really matter. So yeah, I will be off to DreamHack Montreal this weekend. I'm hype. I cannot wait. It's going to be exciting. So guys, you know, just if you guys haven't already, follow me on my Twitter. Because on my Twitter, I have something called Zaflog, which is a hashtag that I use to just document all of my sets, my updates, you know, my progress, the things I'm learning. So I'm excited. I can't wait to test out Sagat and see what's going on, you know what I'm saying? So I'll be doing that. I'll be tweeting about that, so you guys can follow me on there. Also follow me on my YouTube. I upload all of my lessons from my Twitch over to my YouTube. And it'll be there nice and organized by playlist. So if you guys want to watch Mastery Mondays, you can check that out. If you want to watch the Analysis Paralysis series, you can check that out also. I just really appreciate everybody that takes the time to just watch me. And it just means that you guys actually trust me, because you could be getting this information from other people, but you guys choose to do so for me. So I really appreciate it. I'm eternally grateful for you guys. And I just hope you guys continue to grow, because I'm growing alongside you guys. All right, Toy, I'm glad you were watching. I didn't even know you were in here, so I'm glad that I helped out somehow. And yeah, so if you guys haven't already, for those that really enjoy my streams, I have a Discord community, and it's just a bunch of guys in there that are just trying to level up. So I'm just trying to help all of them out, you know, and it's just nothing but love in there. It's just positivity and people just uplifting each other. All right, so I'm done pooping words now. And I'm going to get ready. I got to go catch a bus in the morning. So, again, guys, I appreciate it. And shout outs to Poutine.